It's always cool when you can show how old you are getting on the show. Our guest this morning actually played varsity baseball for me at Salesian High School in New Rochelle. Today, he's leading young men himself here in the Bronx as the junior varsity coach at St. Raymond High School for Boys. We welcome Tommy Cannella to open. Tommy, I don't know who should feel older, if it's me or you.
I don't know, man. I'll tell you what, it's been a long time since we went to those Yankee games.
Absolutely. It's so great to see that you have gone from being a player to being a coach, and I could see that you have practice going on behind you, which is really cool. You're gearing up for the spring season. What's the forecast for St. Ray's JV baseball this spring?
All right, sounds good. So, after that year and a half delay, we're looking forward to a really strong start here. We got guys that are definitely rested for sure. So that's been good getting them back on the field this week. We're in a very competitive division. The divisions got released yesterday. So we're looking forward to having a nice competitive spring season, getting in as many games as we possibly can, and mixing in the competition with some non-league schedule.
So best players, best position players, best pitchers that you have on the roster coming into the spring.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking forward to a nice starting rotation. That starting rotation will be led by Danny McCrink, who is going to be a sophomore here at St. Raymond's. He's also going to be playing the infield for us. We have a very strong middle infield led by shortstop Ethan Ortiz. And we have about 4 to 5. We're about 4 to 5 pitchers deep. And we have 2 catchers that are really solid right now. So looking forward to being defensively sound. Don't know how the bats are going to be yet. So we haven't had much offensive practice. But defensively sound is going to be one of the fundamental things that we try to do here.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy, I guess the big question, of course, would be is how tough has it been to manage a high school baseball team during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, it's been extremely hard. And as you know, at St. Raymond's with our community, we had the loss of varsity coach Mark DeLuca. And that has been, it's an absolute tragedy. And our prayers go out to him and his family as they continue to deal with that terrible loss. For us as a community here at Raymond's, we've been affected not only by COVID, but by his passing. And Ben Aguirre is the AD who took on the interim head coaching position for the time being. And the number one priority we have is trying to get these kids some sort of baseball this spring and lead them through this tragedy.
Yeah, and Tommy, I feel like, we talked about it on the show. There's definitely signs of progress. I mean, whether it's the announcement from the PSAL that high school athletics will be returning in a couple weeks, or just even all of the good news that seems to be coming even from the professional ranks when it comes to fans being at the ballpark, like opening day, to see some fans out at Yankee Stadium will be great, even if it is a reduced crowd.
Yes, I agree. And I think the whole entire New York City baseball community will be pleased with the change of weather, getting outside and seeing baseball being played at all different levels. And I really hope that on the high school level that we could avoid the COVID outages that we've seen in college basketball. And hopefully we can avoid that as more people get vaccinated and as more people are knowledgeable of how to stay safe. And I hope that continues and we can finish our season and look forward to playoffs in June.
And Tommy, like I said, it's pretty cool to have this interview with you because I feel like there's so many similarities for us both. Both of us growing up in the Bronx, both of us played first base at Salesian High School.
Yep.
Won city championships as players, won city championships as coaches. And now even these days, you're still coaching and you're still teaching. You're also a teacher at St. Ray's. Mm-hmm. And even though I've kind of bypassed coaching baseball, I coach broadcasting these days. So yeah. I'm still teaching myself and coaching. Now I said, broadcasting. But, for me, there's just so much of a tremendous good feeling about being able to give back to young people. And I wanted to get your thoughts about what it's been like to kind of coach some of these young men that very much were like you, aspiring to play baseball in the Bronx.
Yeah, for me personally, the last 5 years of baseball career has been, quite tipsy and turny. I was at Salesian for quite some time, then moved on to Queensboro Community College as a hitting coach. Then I was lucky enough to coach my own program at the Division III level at the College of New Rochelle. And unfortunately, that school went bankrupt, and my opportunity here opened up. So, to answer your question directly, the life lessons that we teach through the sport of baseball is what has been paramount, whether the student athlete is 13 years old or the student athlete is 27 years old. It doesn't change. You're still teaching the game of baseball as a foundation for how they're going to live their life. And that's what we would want years past. For years going forward, we'd like to see players that are modeled young men and grow up to be great husbands and great fathers and great assets to their community. And if we can do that through the game of baseball, then we succeeded no matter how many wins we have or no matter how many losses we have.
Tommy, give me some of the best players on the roster. Give me some of the best matchups. When is opening day, and who will be some of the toughest opponents that you face this spring?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our toughest opponents will always be Fordham Prep, and we're lucky enough to be in their division. As we found out the other day, we'll be matched up against them 3 times. Fordham Prep has always been a team that is very formidable. They always can hit, and they always have good pitching. So like I said to you before, defense has to be sound. That's the number one thing we have to do in order to compete against a team like that, is we have to keep their runs to a minimum and keep our opportunities to score at the optimum level. So like I said, there's some questions with our offense right now, but we're practicing to shore up the defense. If we do that, then we can compete against teams like Fordham Prep.
And again, we had mentioned too about how the public schools are coming back. What has the process been like for the Catholic schools? Because I've seen that some of the programs, even in Westchester County, finally getting back to business this spring. And that includes other sports too, like football and basketball. I mean, I can't imagine, we talked about it on the show too, a university like Fordham finally playing their first football game at the end of March, as opposed to the season being over, let's say in November.
Yeah. So luckily for us, our schedule really hasn't been interfered with too much. We're about 15 days later than we normally would start. We're looking to get into the same amount of games, probably in the range of 14 to 18 games within the league. And a playoff seems to be extended to about 8 to 10 teams. So for us, we're not too affected by that. We were able to start up relatively soon after our start date. Normally is about the first Saturday in March, would be the first legal practice day. And it was this Monday for us. So we're not too far off. And to be honest with you, we avoided some of the colder weather.
Yeah, Tom, I've always thought, that there's a tremendous amount of good baseball played here in the Bronx, and it's hard enough as is because of the weather. I mean, a lot of players in the Northeast, of course, don't benefit from as many reps. That's why some of these guys that get drafted, tend to come from warmer weather climates, whether it's California or Texas or Florida. But there's some really good baseball players here in the Bronx.
Yes, absolutely. And one of my experiences as a head coach at College of New Rochelle was being able to recruit players from all around the country. We were recruiting from California and Florida and Puerto Rico. And what we found was some of the more mentally strong players were actually coming from New York City. And I think that's a testament to how it is to be brought up in New York City and the mental strength that it takes to go about your day and to do well in school, and the focus on, God, family, and baseball is really there for everybody. And it's a nice thing to see. That New York City has one of the better high school leagues in the country. And it's one of those things every year that 2 to 3, maybe even 4 or 5 players are coming out of the Northeast getting drafted from our league. So it's always been nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, St. Ray's would always have typically a couple ball players that were being looked at by the major leagues, guys that would potentially get drafted. Or if not drafted, they would end up going to high-profile Division I programs and then get drafted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things the college coach always acknowledged when they're getting a player from New York City is they're going to be mentally and physically tough, and the character is going to be there. And the character there instilled by the coaching staffs of New York City have always been very strong.
Do the guys get on you? Like, do you still ever get in the cage and show them, like, hey, coach can still hit here. I can get in here and swing the bat?
You leave it up as your A's up your sleeve, and you don't use it until you have to. But yeah, absolutely. There have been times, especially when they're not hitting the L screen in batting practice, you may grab a bat and teach them how to hit up the middle.
Well, Tommy, we're definitely a darn good baseball player. As a player, it was a pleasure coaching you 100 years ago. Excited to see that you're still coaching, that I'm still talking some baseball, even if it's in this role. So great to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Best of luck with the season. We're looking forward to having some of these young players back on the fields where it matters most. I mean, COVID really robbed so many young players here in the Bronx of that opportunity to play. So it's exciting to get back to playing some baseball.
Absolutely, and so are we. The best stress relief you can have is competition. So we're looking forward to getting back on the field.